when you have an Obama, Pelosi, and the rest of the hooligans up there going to run this country, we got to have our head examined. It's time that you two are representing us, and we are mad. So go get them.
That was just one of many instances this week when the crowds at McCain rallies lashed out at Obama and urged McCain to go after him even harder. And it's time now for our Sunday group. Britt Hume, Washington managing editor of Fox News, and Fox News contributors Mara Liasson of National Public Radio, Bill Kristol of the Weekly Standard, and Juan Williams, also from National Public Radio. So, Britt, what about this whole controversy about the anger of the crowds at McCain rallies and the rhetoric that's come from McCain and Palin? Do you think it's over the line?
The rhetoric or the crowds?
Well, both. The rhetoric from the candidates and the rhetoric from the crowds.
Well, as Rick Davis is saying, they let anybody who wants to come into those rallies and town hall meetings come in, and if you do that, you get what you get. Obviously, there's some people who are alarmed by Obama, but I don't think for a moment that the issues that have been raised by the McCain campaign and the things that he has said are over the top in terms of political rhetoric. I mean, it's been intense, it's been feisty, it's been at times harsh and negative, but over the line, I don't think so.
Mara, what do you make of the fact that by the end of the week, you have McCain, on the one hand, running ads saying he's consorting with terrorists and he's a liar, bad judgment, blind ambition, or maybe it was the other way around. But on the other hand, he ended up telling a member of the crowd, don't be scared of a President Obama.
I think those are two different things. I think juxtaposed, it looks like it's a metaphor for the McCain campaign, which has been flailing around a bit, as people who are behind usually do, because they're trying to find something that works, and nothing has been lately. But he was responding to somebody in the audience who said something angry and maybe personal, something that was a little ugly directed against Obama, and he wanted to make sure that that he was respectful, and he admonished the guy. The ad is something a little bit different. It's about Obama not telling the complete truth of what he knew about heirs. Saying somebody has blind ambition and lies is par for the course in a political campaign. I do think, however, when you read stories that somebody at a Palin rally yelled, kill him, or off with his head, or something like that, it is incumbent upon the candidates, either at that rally, if they hear it, or at least at the next public event, to say something, the way McCain did in that town meeting, to kind of make sure that they set the tone the way they want to.
Yes.
Yeah, no, look, I think McCain did the right thing on Friday, and I think the campaign has been, I mean, the main thing to say about these negative ads, which I don't think almost none of them has been across the line, they haven't worked. Obama's favorable rating is as high as it's been in 3 months. It's actually gone up in the last month. So it's a stupid campaign. It's not a horribly mean-spirited or racist or disgraceful campaign, but it's really become a pathetic campaign in the sense that there's no strategy. They're flailing around. They do things that don't work and keep on doing them. They're out of sync with their own candidate now, which allows everyone to say, well, why is Senator McCain saying this? If Senator McCain is willing to say these things, then the campaign and the senator and the candidate should say them. If he's not willing to, adjust the campaign. Otherwise, you're just setting yourself up for what we've seen, which is Senator Obama quite correctly saying, hey, well, what's going on here? He won't say this to me, and his campaign is saying it in ads.
So are you saying, Bill, you don't think that he should be bringing up William Ayers and Acorn and all of that?
I think either Senator McCain should decide that he's willing to bring them up and make a sustained criticism and explain what the problem with Ayers is, which is he's a radical in educational policy and a former terrorist, and Obama has consorted with him some, and then, but it's crazy then not to bring up Reverend Wright, who has been his pastor for 20 years until this year.
But I'm confused. Are you saying that he's...
I'm saying be consistent. If you decide, if the McCain campaign decides that they want to make the fundamental issue Obama's character and trustworthiness, I think that's a legitimate thing to raise.
But you don't seem to think that that's the right case to be making anyway.
I think they've tried in a half-hearted way. They've done it enough that they've probably discredited it in the sense that it hasn't worked, and now it will just look more desperate to do it. So I think now, frankly, they should pivot. I don't think it was illegitimate. I think I myself have raised the issue of Wright. It discomforts me. But you've got to raise it in a consistent and coherent way. You can't sort of do it half-heartedly and half the time and flail around and then back off, and that's what the campaign's been.
Well, I mean, what you're seeing is frustration on the part of not only McCain's campaign, but McCain's supporters, and I think that's why you're getting all this ugliness, this off with his head, this racial epithets being shouted and the like. It's very unattractive. But I must give John McCain some credit here. I think McCain did speak out. And secondly, I think John McCain has been the one who's tried to hold the line on Reverend Wright. Now, I actually think that Reverend Wright's a legitimate issue to be discussed because it's a 20-year association. But I understand where John McCain feels that it might be, in fact, insightful. So, okay, let's move on. So then how do we get then to the core issue here? The problem for McCain is he's losing right now with women voters in a way that he wasn't losing even a month ago. I think it's gone from, in the latest Fox News opinion dynamic poll, went from +4 for Obama with women to +16. So when Bill talks about it not working, you're talking about these direct economic issues and the response from the candidates on these economic issues, that women voters in specific are finding what Obama has to say and Obama's rhetoric more gives them a sense of comfort, that he cares about them, that he is willing to speak to these issues in an effective way, versus McCain, who talks about the fundamentals of the economy being strong, and people saying, you know what, I think this guy doesn't get it.
Chris, I think to some extent we're ignoring the elephant in the corner of the room here. I mean, what we're doing is talking about political tactics, which really are fun to talk about in the aftermath of a political earthquake. And I'm talking, of course, about the financial crisis. I mean, if we'd sat around this table and tried to think of a way to blow up the McCain campaign, which had, I think, to a great extent, been kind of defying political gravity for most of the year by a series of decisions and efforts that proved, for a time at least, to be pretty agile, we could hardly have done better than to dream up an extreme credit crisis leading to a near crash in the stock market within months of the election. I guess we could have put it 2 weeks to the election. That might have been more effective. But the McCain campaign and Republicans across the country have been devastated by this. And this is the central event now in the current stage of this campaign. And, you know, it might have helped some if McCain had appeared to be more consistent and had a sensible and consistent message about what to do about this. He didn't seem to. His efforts to try to get in the middle of the solution to the crisis seemed to backfire. Some of that was unfair, but that's the way it is. But that is where we are in this race, and that is the key event.
So, so Mara, is it impossible? I mean, is this, you know, Britt said an earthquake, you'll call it a political tsunami. Democrats, I mean, the country generally turns to Democrats when there's an economic crisis. You've got a Republican president, so you know, then that maybe McCain is being tarred with that brush. Is there anything McCain can do to get out ahead on the issue of central concern to people?
I ask this question to everybody, Republicans and Democrats, and I haven't heard a good answer. I mean, short of something that's beyond his control, like some kind of foreign policy crisis that would
but I'm talking about something he affirmatively could do on the economic crisis.
I think there's very few things he can do. I think there is this notion in a campaign that if only X candidate was doing this, he could turn it around. I agree with Britt. This race, more than most, is being run by the fundamentals, and they are pretty extreme right now. And I think that Barack Obama is riding a wave, and John McCain is getting battered by it. And although I think the John McCain campaign could have done many, many things different. There was never a reform agenda. He could have started earlier with some of this maverick talk. I think that it might be a little late now. Look what happened when he dropped this new policy proposal into the midst of a debate. It looked like a gimmick.
Well, it was a gimmick. It wasn't prepared properly. They changed it overnight. I mean, I agree that it's a tough political environment that's gotten tougher, but I think it's being used as too much of an excuse, frankly, for the McCain campaign. Let's talk about this morning. Rick Davis comes on the show and screams and yells at David Axelrod. They scream and yell at each other. You invited Sarah Palin on. You would have had John McCain on. They would have had 20, 30 minutes with you. You asking questions, unfiltered, making their case to the American public. McCain is an attractive, impressive character. Palin is an attractive and impressive character. Why isn't Sarah Palin on this morning instead of Rick Davis? It is ridiculous. It is malpractice. It's a tough environment. Maybe they would have lost anyway because of the economic developments. But to do what they're doing is inexplicable.
Let me just say, that is such pure reason on the part of Bill Kristol that we're going to end this panel on that subject. You've said it all. What can I say, Bill? All right, we have to take a break here.